What's up, you wrestling fanatics? You're listening to the True Wrestling Podcast, episode 34. Thanks for tuning in. Today, Seth and my dad preview the Oklahoma State versus Lehigh duel this Saturday. You can see highlights and interviews of the match at true-wrestling.com on Sunday. Thanks to my sponsor, DS Wrestling. They're awesome. You can follow my dad on Twitter at TrueWrestler1 or visit true-wrestling.com. You can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_Duckworth or at PistersFiringBlog.com. Now, without further ado,
here we are with Seth Duckworth. We're going to do a little preview of the Oklahoma State Lehigh match this weekend. Seth, thanks for taking the time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on at home.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, it's no problem. I'm glad to get on here and talk about it. It's fun.
So it's a pretty big duel. You know, Oklahoma State comes in depending on whether you're looking at duels or national tournament rankings, but they're, around number 7. Lehigh's around number 12. We got like 13 top 25 wrestlers. Jordan Cutler's probably the highest ranked guy, and if his match happens with Joe Smith, that'd be the highest ranked pair wrestling. And, it looks to be a pretty good early season duel.
Yeah, for sure. I think the interesting thing with OSU this year is the way they've decided to do the lineup. A lot of the time a lot of the talk this summer was thinking Dakota Gear might go up to 197. People thought K. Brock was going to be healthy. We didn't really know 100%. Everybody kind of knew Fix was probably going to take his red shirt. But ultimately what's happened is every duel this season is going to be kind of interesting for OSU. I mean, there's a handful of them. I think Drexel on was that Friday or Saturday? They arrested Drexel, but they
day before. I'm not sure.
OSU will be pretty heavily favored in the Drexel duel. But pretty much, I mean, you can circle 7 to 10 duels on the season this year that it's not going to be an easy out for OSU, and they're going to have to wrestle well and they're going to perform well to win. And Lehigh, kicks it right off with a pretty good team, and it's going to be that situation. So.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And the interesting thing is, with Oklahoma State having a few guys who have not wrestled, will they wrestle back-to-back and, possibly have some weight troubles? Because, one, they're on the road, early season, making weight for the first time. There's a lot of stuff to discover here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we already talked about them facing Drexel the night before, and that should be a fairly easy match for Oklahoma State. But coming into Lehigh the next day, and it's a daytime match, so I think it's a afternoon match versus Drexel, and then a 2 o'clock start for Lehigh. These guys, the top coaches always give their teams, hard schedules, and this year is a little different because of the Olympic cycle, but it seems like, you want to test your guys early, and this will be interesting. I know Oklahoma State's been coming east now for a couple years, recruiting well out of New Jersey. I mean, they've kept Coach Esposito, but they got Piccinini, and it's a hotbed of wrestling here, so they want to have a good showing.
Yeah, it's a smart thing. In Oklahoma State sports across the board, I would say you see a lot of OSU likes to play football in Texas because that's where all the football players are.
Uh-huh.
OSU likes to wrestle in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and they get to Pennsylvania a lot, and that's exactly what this is. They'll be right in that area, and they can kind of meet with some of those kids. Everybody knows what's going on there. That's the move, and not having like a Big Ten type schedule where they're not in that area very often is tough, but that's what they do with it. They take these road trips, and it works.
It does. So to kick off the duel at 125, we have number 3, Nick Piccinini, coming in. He's a senior, facing Brandon Paetzel, a redshirt junior. Paetzel transferred from Rutgers a couple years ago. Piccinini is, he's a stud. When you look at his wins, his best wins were all versus Pat Glory last year. He had his number from the top. And Paetzel's coming down from 33. He's a pretty good wrestler. I kind of see it being almost a little bit even from the neutral position, but I am not sure that Paetzel's ever faced anybody who is such a hammer on top.
Yeah, Nick with those tilts and that bar arm stuff, he's like very, very good with it. And I think, like we talked about with the what OSU is this year and what they have matchups with a lot of duels where they're going to need bonus in certain spots. Nick's going to be kind of a guy that they're going to rely on for that. I mean, he's a senior. He's a clear leader on the team. He's all those different things. Great kid. I think they're going to need him to, possibly at least get a couple extra points here to kind of propel him in the duel. So, Nick, obviously, he's a two-time All-American. He's going to be favored here, but they're going to be looking for bonus there, I'm sure. Like, that's a big matchup.
Yeah, I watched the Princeton Open last week, and a lot of guys, All-Americans, we'll just say they didn't have their February, March lungs in order. So we will see where these guys are. I didn't get to see Pato wrestle. He was out for that match, for that tournament. But we'll see where Nick is with his lungs and if he can push the pace on top. The last guy that Pato may have wrestled that was a hammer on top could have been, former teammate Darian Cruz. He's been graduated a couple years.
Yeah.
Luke Karam's out of that. I think he's out of the lineup. I think he's got a concussion. So I'm not sure how often he sees the hammer on top like that. So I'll be real curious. That's one of the keys to the match is if this is a regular decision or if there are bonus points involved and where the gas tank is for both these guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Nick, like I said, he's been one of my favorite kids to cover as far as, like you said, he's got a personality about it. When you actually talk to him, he's a great kid, but
Totally.
he's like I say, he's one of the clear leaders on the team. He does a lot of things right. You can just see and follow and tell what these guys do. And so I expect that he'll have his lungs under him, probably more so than a lot of kids. I think he's got that maturity about him as a senior. I think he's got that, all those things that he's not really, some guys that they're kind of over it by the time they get to their senior year and stuff. I think he still has pretty high goals and wants to, go out at least, winning his fourth Big 12 title, all those things. So I think he'll be there. I mean, I expect pretty solid things there, but like I said, who knows? I mean, what we've seen him at now is just OCU, and it's a small tournament here at an NAI school. So they kind of a lot of who they were wrestling there is Division II, junior college type kids and stuff like that. So he looked like he had it last weekend, but that doesn't. It's not who he's wrestling this weekend, I guess. So we'll see a little bit more.
Yeah. I've definitely given the edge to Piccinini. Patel, don't hate me. The question is whether or not Pitch can get some bonus points there, because the way this looks could be a 5-5 split, and it's going to be who's injured, who's got bonus points, who's got the gas tank. So moving up to 33, I think it's either going to be Wilson or Whitcraft for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of a unique thing going on there, I guess. You have Connor Wilson. He's pretty solid. He's a kid out of Allen, Texas, which OSU's big recruit they have coming in this year is AJ Ferrari.
Yep.
So same high school as him. Connor is pretty good. I think out of high school, not a lot of people wasn't heavily recruited or anything, but OSU picked him up. He's a redshirt freshman, and I kind of wrestled well in spots when we've seen him in some of the open tournaments and stuff like that last year. This year, he at the OCU last weekend, he wrestled 2 matches, got hurt, and was performing. I think he looked good from everything I could tell, but until he got hurt. I don't know the extent of that injury. It looked like some sort of cramps, I guess, is what I'm told. But I don't know what's going on there. And if they don't wrestle him, they got a true freshman in Whitcraft. Whitcraft won the tournament. Beat some. There was a JUCO national champ in the bracket. There were some other decent. The JUCO kid is going to Minnesota this year, so there's some talent in that bracket, and he won. And he had one match where he got put on his back really early and had to storm back. But other than that, he looked really, really good. I mean, Whitcraft's a really talented kid. But the weird variable is they got to rip off his red shirt if they're going to wrestle him.
Right.
And the other factor you have to factor in there is people are thinking Cade Brock's going to be back this year. Cade Brock's injured right now. And so to me, it's like you're looking at, are they going to pull this kid's red shirt and send him out there knowing that Cade Brock might be back in 2 or 3 months? So, like, yeah, they probably need him for this duel, and he would be the best thing for this duel and everything else. Again, I think Connor's, a formidable guy. He'll do well. But it's just kind of a big question mark. What are they going to do with Whitcraft? It's going to be something that OSU fans are asking for the next 2 or 3, 4 or 5 weeks, ever, because until we know something official on Cade Brock, because, like I say, he came out of the gate swinging and had a really good tournament last weekend. And so I think everybody's going to kind of wonder, okay, is this kid going to get his red shirt pulled and going to wrestle? But then, again, the big factor everybody's going to be looking at is, well, whether or not Cade Brock's going to be back, because it's kind of pointless to pull this kid's red shirt, wrestle him for 3 weeks, and then to have Cade replace him or whatever. So.
Absolutely. And those guys will be facing Nick Farrow, who's a senior from Lehigh. Farrow hadn't really, he's done his time at Lehigh. He's never really been consistently in that starting lineup. I know he's been banged up, but last week he knocked off a top 20 guy from Rutgers, and that is probably his first ranked win, and he looked really good doing it. He knows how to lose really close to some top guys, which a lot of guys do. I'm going to give the edge to Farrow. I think he's pretty slick on his feet. We'll see as a senior if he has any crafty stuff there. And I just can't see them. Right, Cade Brock. That's what I've heard coming back. Do you pull that red shirt? Coming in as as a true freshman, it's one of those things where the importance of the now versus the long term.
Yeah, exactly.
And these guys, all the coaches want to win now, and I think that you see that more and more, especially. I think Tom Ryan has shown that. Cale Sanderson has shown it a little bit. So, I wouldn't doubt that they could pull it. On the other hand, Cade Brock is a stud, and have him sit behind him afterwards, unless it's competitive. I don't know. I don't have that secret, but I can't imagine it's competitive from the outside.
I don't think so either. Whitcraft, and if you're kind of analyzing this kid, he's super talented. Off the charts talented. I think but he's very, very raw. That's just kind of the book on him. If you watch a lot of his matches, he won Fargo a couple of years ago. He blew up, was it Super 32, I think, or Ironman maybe. One of those big high school tournaments, and he's a local kid from Broken Arrow, so which is in Tulsa, so a lot of people around here know him, and he's kind of always been that guy that everybody saw. Man, he's got all this talent. When's it going to pop or whatever? Like I say, he made the finals of Fargo, and then he made then he won whichever one it was, Super 32 or Ironman. And that kind of came on a lot of national radars at that point. But he's that kid. He's got a ton of talent, but to regularly beat like a guy like Cade Brock, I don't really see that.
Yeah.
But you're talking a guy that's also coming off of ACL surgery too, so Cade Brock. So how I don't know how good his knee is going to be when he does get back. So, but we'll see. I guess it'd be really interesting. Like I say, it's going to be a conversation among Oklahoma State people for a while Whitcraft's kind of sitting in that red shirt, and whether or not they're going to pull it. So.
Well, if Coach Smith doesn't show us during the match, I'll make sure I pin him down afterwards and get it all out. Man of little words. All right. Well, at 33, I'm going to give the edge to Farrow. He's going to have to generate his own offense and be aggressive. I know that he has been susceptible to wrestling close and losing late historically. But I think as a senior, I'm just giving him that edge, and I think the win over Alvarez is an indicator there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he'll probably take that match too.
Going up to 41, we've got Ryan Pomrinka coming in at number 35 for Lehigh as a senior, and Caden Gefeller coming in as a redshirt sophomore. He comes in around like 10 or 12, dropping down from 149, but he hasn't wrestled this season.
Yeah, exactly. The OCU Open, like I was talking about a little bit earlier, he didn't wrestle. I'm not sure what the story is there. We didn't make it down there, so didn't do the media availabilities and all that stuff to kind of get to ask all those things. The buzz I'm hearing, which some of the time it's like rumor mill, all that stuff, is he was just adjusting to the weight. and he should be there this weekend. If he's not, Dusty Hone actually won the tournament. Dusty's kind of a unique story. He was pretty highly touted kid out of high school. He's went on a LDS mission for a couple of years and then came back to OSU and is kind of getting settled back in. But he's kind of, I think, going to be maybe a bit of a rover for OSU between 41 and 49 anytime either Boo Llewellyn or Caden Gefeller are out. So he's probably who would be the alternative if Caden doesn't wrestle. And he's really not too bad. So
it'll be interesting. So if he's because I've heard it's a weight issue,
Yeah.
traveling, losing weight and holding it back to back at home is just so much more easy than it is on the road. And if they do have him weigh in versus Drexel, if he makes it, holding it for the next day, it's going to be a challenge. That first time every year, it really, I think, does zap the lungs and the cardio and what I like to call a lung injury. And I'll be real curious. So if he does make it, Pomrinka has historically wrestled top guys very close and lost close. He has a hard time generating his own offense sometimes, and this could be a trap match for Gefeller if he is in there and second day in a row, his cardio is not right, and this could be a harder match than I think most people think. Because right now, with the ranking, Gefeller should just blow him out. However, this is like Pomrinka's home, back-to-back match, and the kid knows how to wrestle tight matches. Matter of fact, it's come back to bite him a few times, probably by wrestling too close a match. However, I think it's going to be an interesting match.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, his style and his thing is he's a fiery guy. Like he never stops wrestling. And if you lose kind of that pace by having a bad weight cut, he loses kind of what he is and his identity and how he wins matches. So, I mean, it's definitely a must win for OSU in the duel. I don't know, but hopefully, if the weight cut doesn't affect him, I think on paper you definitely got to favor him. But if he's struggling and hurting there, then it could definitely be a really, really tight match. The kind of unique thing is last year his redshirt freshman year, his true freshman year, he was at 141 and behind Dean Heil, and then Boo was up at 149, and so he just took the redshirt that year. But he really was kind of a natural 141, goes up to 49 to back up Boo last year after Boo went out, and kind of filled out that weight over time, and so now he's having to cut it back off, and it's kind of like an interesting thing for him.
Totally. So, I mean, coming in, he's clearly, he's like right around top 10. So if he's ready to go, he's going to be formidable. On the other hand, I'm just going to say Pomrinka had his best win probably of his career, knocked off number 18, Pat Darcy, last weekend at the Princeton Open, I believe. And again, we'll see what it is, that first weight cut. At the Princeton Open, even the All-Americans are telling me, man, this is, unless you have done it, unless you're dropping that kind of weight and then have been in that kind of cardio challenge, like it's hard for the average person to relate to the first time because everything's shrinking, including your blood volume. So it's one of those things where, it's not easy. So I agree. G has to win this for Oklahoma State to win this duel.
Oh, sure.
Going to 149. I think that it's going to be Jimmy Hoffman for Lehigh, coming in around ranked number 40. He's a redshirt sophomore. I'm pretty sure Karam is in concussion protocol from last weekend, and they'll be either one of them or someone else will be wrestling Boo Llewellyn, who comes in around number 8. Boo missed a bunch of time last year, with some injuries. He's had some quality wins to justify that ranking, if you ask me. I've heard some debate about it, but tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the matchup.
Okay, well, Boo, I think if he's a kid that I think if his shoulder holds up, and if for anybody that's watching this, maybe Lehigh folks or whatever that don't follow close or haven't followed him closely, any Oklahoma State fan, this has been kind of a story that everybody knows, I guess. He goes out against South Dakota State last year. Something happens. Nobody, you can only kind of see what happened. Something go to sound, and he goes down writhing in pain, grabbing his shoulder. Something happened bad. Of course, we find out later, basically dislocated his shoulder. They pop it back in later in the season, and he gets back and he recovers. Iowa State duel, he's out there beating Jared Deegan, kind of handling him comfortably. And Deegan's a guy that I think finished 4th or 5th last year, something like that. And then boom, going into probably the last minute or so of the match, same thing happens again that we saw in the South Dakota State duel, and he goes down again in pain. Basically, it turns out he separated his shoulder. They did surgery in the off season. He's back. He looked fine last weekend. You know, he did everything. Like I say, OCU is maybe not the highest level tournament in the world, but he wasn't. You know, didn't seem to have any issues. He kind of bonused his way through pretty comfortably. Wrestled a few pretty decent guys. So I think if the shoulder's back and he's good to go, the sky's the limit for the kid. I really think he's a legitimate national title contender type. Like, I mean, he finished 7th, I think, 2 years ago, and that was a bracket that had Rutherford and like Swanson and all these, you know, really, really stacked weight, and he was kind of just on the top of that tier right behind all those just really, really elite guys. But so I think if he's healthy, sky's the limit this season. I think he probably wins this match. We're just like, people are going to be on the edge of their seat anytime Boo goes out to wrestle and wondering and hoping they don't see what they saw the last 2 matches of last season. So,
right. Yeah, and it's another spot where if he's 100%, you know, OSU's got to be thinking possible bonus points.
Yeah, bonus probably. Yeah.
You know, Hoffman, you know, his first year really in the lineup, and you know, I'm not sure he's faced anybody as tough as Llewellyn can be. So, you know, edge clearly the OSU, and you got to be looking possible bonus points there. Going up to 157, number 13, Josh Humphreys, true sophomore, versus somewhere around number 40, Wyatt Sheets, redshirt sophomore. You know, Humphreys comes in higher ranked, but Sheets beat him last year in sudden victory. Now, you know, there was Sheets' redshirt freshman year. It was Humphreys' true freshman year, and you know, it was back-to-back on a road trip for Humphreys. Now, I don't want to make excuses, but as a freshman, it is hard to go on the road and just, you know, be consistent. So it'll be an interesting match. I think it was 7-5, and you know, Sheets has a style I think Humphrey has some trouble with. He has some of the athleticism he can go with Humphreys. Humphreys didn't look super dialed in versus he lost a match to Quincy Monday last week that he beat Quincy the year before, and Quincy looks like he's made some strides. So I'll be curious. Pardon me?
I would say Monday has made some jumps. He looks good. Yeah. I saw a little bit of him last weekend too.
Yeah, so he was you know, he ended up blowing that match out. Humphreys, I think, won by 1 point last year. I think he beat Humphreys by 5 or 6 points this year. So curious to see where Humphreys is. I don't know if he's got anything nagging or not, but thoughts on the match?
Yeah, Sheets is a kid that I think one of John's comments and one of the first media availabilities we had is really his expectation with Wyatt this year is kind of at that weight OSU to be competitive this season needs an All-American caliber guy. And I think that's paraphrasing a little bit, but that was basically John's words regarding Sheets at 157. And I think he's right. I think he Wyatt, they kind of had an interesting thing going on as far as lineup at 157 last year. Andrew Schomers was down there. Yeah. He used to be at Lockhaven, at Edinburgh. So you guys probably know him up there. But he was the starter. Kind of got to a point where he couldn't, was struggling to make 157. Went up to 165, and then Wyatt stepped in and took over and kind of wrestled the rest of the season. And like you said, he had some big wins. Like he beat a lot of pretty big name guys, but he just didn't quite kind of put together the resume to qualify for the NCAA tournament. But it seemed to come together for him, or be coming together for him throughout the season. Like I say, it just didn't quite get over that hump of being a qualifier and everything. he had an okay tournament at OCU last weekend. Like I say, they're not a lot of big schools there, but still, I think he wrestled fine. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it's like you said, it's probably this is going to be almost another must-win for OSU and another what could be a really really good match. It's probably going to be really tight. And I think really for me, looking at Wyatt and trying to gauge kind of where he's at, will be a very good match to do it on because it's like I said, you kind of saw him break almost to the point of breaking through and getting, into that qualifier status, and it seemed to be all coming together last year. So I think it hopefully has continued over the summer. And I mean, he had some pretty solid freestyle wins and stuff. Like he looks like a guy that everybody sees a lot of improvement in, a lot of things going in the right direction. But this will be a good test for fans to see. Okay, where is he at? Can he continue to win these? And if he does, it's be a really solid win for him. So.
Yeah. So these guys aren't the most highly ranked possible matchup, but because it was so close, sudden victory. This should be a good match.
Yeah.
I'll give Humphreys the edge. On the other hand, it's on the road. They're both sophomores. I'm just looking forward to it. I love seeing action. I think these guys can. I don't know where I saw their match or part of it. I'm not sure I'm not allowed to even say it. I think someone who had it showed it to me who was not supposed to have it. But the point is, it wasn't a low-scoring affair, so I'm looking forward to it. I think the key watching it is the scrambling. I think that Humphreys didn't do so well in some scrambling. It wasn't strategic enough last week versus Monday, and we'll see. I think that's how Sheets ended up making it a close match last year. So I'm going to give it the edge Humphreys, but it's going to be a good match.
For sure.
Going up to 65, Lehigh's got a couple question marks here. Gallick, I think he got injured at the Journeyman. He's more highly ranked than Meyer, but he missed the last couple matches, and they'll be going against Oregon native Travis Whitlake, redshirt freshman, coming into the lineup for the first time. I know that back-to-back matches if Whitlake is wrestling Drexel, it's like he's making the big cut.
Yeah.
And, I talked to him a little bit over the summer, and I talked to him recently, like he's feeling pretty good with that cut, but, we'll see what it's like when he's wrestling someone tougher on a road trip, and he's still pretty young into his college wrestling career. Just looking at it a little bit, if Gallick is in the match, he is this crazy, wide-open dude who will just throw – he just does crazy – I mean, it's unorthodox. I don't know if crazy is the word, but he will put himself in some of the most crazy positions for the entire match. And, I'm a huge Whitlake fan, but if Gallick does that and, pushes the cardio, I wonder if Travis will be ready for it. On the other hand, I don't think Meyer brings that to the that skill set. I think Whitlake has also been a little bit under the radar. He was a blue chip recruit and maybe didn't have the greatest redshirt season. He lost us, not Sedarian Perry, someone from Old Dominion, and that was kind of it for him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think what you're saying there at the end about Whitlake is really, really accurate. I think that's what kind of people are sort of saw in his redshirt season. He was up at 174, so he's at 165 now. I don't know if that's a better fit for him or if it's just the best for the lineup or whatever. But ultimately, he's at a lower weight, so there is something to be said for it. Even though cutting weight can be hard on you and all those different things, maybe he is just being at 65, he kind of can handle that a little bit better. I know I looked at track and saw that he did make weight pretty easily. I mean, he was like a pound under last weekend. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's definitely a tough weight cut for him. Super talented kid, but he did take a couple losses in his redshirt year, and I think that's where exactly what you're saying. He's flying under a lot of radars. He's not ranked on too many, it's too many of Flo and some of those guys. But he's a world medalist. Like he's a big time talent. You don't do that and not have something there. So I think if it's starting to click for him and some things going right and maybe that going down that weight, you could see a big season out of him. But he looked good last weekend. That's another one. He wrestled Shomers in the finals, which a teammate, and beat Shomers. It's always so weird to watch a matchup of teammates because it's like, I don't know. They see each other in the room every day.
I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm going to do.
So it's a lot of just dancing in the stands and stuff. But Shomers was a qualifier a couple of years ago. It's not like, he's a pretty talented kid in a lot of levels. So I think we could see some good things from Woodlake this year. I'll be interested to see, like, similar to Sheets, I think, you're kind of interested to see, are they going to break out or whatever this year? Well, this will be kind of a little bit more of a real test for him. And so, I don't know. This is a tough one. I think Travis wins probably just based on the pure, like I say, there's a lot of talent there. Yeah. But we just saw, that sample size last year in his redshirt year, and he did take some losses and everything. But hopefully he's kind of settling in, and 65 is the right weight for him, and things work out here.
Yeah, I give him the edge. It's funny. He comes from, I call it Ice Station Zebra, west of the Rockies, right? So when you grow up and you're on the Oregon coast, and even if you're a world medalist, most people don't know who you are, right? And so he doesn't have this giant fan base built in because Oregon just doesn't have that. And so he's one of the guys who I think would easily be around a 12 guy this year, making some jumps. So.
Yeah, and I think that's what Oklahoma State fans see him as, and hopefully, that's what they get out of him this year, and that's he definitely could be. There's no doubt. Like it's and we'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of watching Travis progress and what he does this season. So.
Me too. Moving up to 74, if it materializes, it'll be the marquee matchup. We got number 2 Jordan Cutler versus number 5 Joe Smith. Smith, as I think we talked about, hasn't wrestled yet this year. I think I'll go on record saying, I think he's getting down to weight, and that has probably been a problem. I'm not speaking for you, but Coach Smith can get angry at me. I hope it happens. I hope that this match happens. They have wrestled each other. Cutler's won a pair of matches over Smith. Smith is one of these guys, he's a senior, and he has not had the college career that a lot of people thought he would have had. And in the same way, Cutler came in as a highly touted recruit from Blair, and he didn't, he missed weight at conferences as a freshman. So they've both had, coming in as, I think, as a 1 seed. So they've both had, some ups and downs in their careers. The weight class is cleared out. Joe had a pretty tough upper side of the bracket at the NCAAs last year. Yeah. Not to mention he was cutting weight and coming down there for the first time. Like, it was, so I'm really looking forward to this. Smith's best win last year was over David McFadden, who was Cutler's childhood training partner, and they've traded matches, but McFadden beat Cutler at NCAAs last year. This has all the makings for a tough match. I think that, again, having a back-to-back on the road is a tough way to come in for Joe Smith. I'm a big fan of Jordan Cutler. I think his defense is really tough to penetrate unless your name is Mark Hall. I also like Joe Smith, but I like his athleticism. But I think he's going to need 7 minutes to be able to beat Jordan Cutler.
Yeah. That'll be a good one. I think it was... Who won the match last year? Joe was 65 last year for the duel, so they. Am I remembering that right?
I don't know if they wrestled Was it last year? Hold on 1 second. I'll look it up really quickly. And
sorry, but I could have. I was thinking they met last year, but it may have been Jacoby Smith that was in my head right now. But
yeah, so in February. Cutler won 2-1. Is that the duel? Did they move him up?
Yeah, that would have been the well.
And
yeah,
then
exactly.
And then in 2017, Cutler won 7-1. So that's Wrestle Track. Go to Wrestle Track, everybody.
All right, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I mean, it'll be a tight match. I think there's no doubt about that. Well, it'll be kind of interesting to see what, I couldn't really remember that one because OSU last year, they did a lot of lineup switches kind of late in the season. I don't know if you recall that, but
Yeah.
they had Jimmy Rogers, of course, at 165. They had Jacoby Smith, who's, an All-American, and Joe Smith, and then also Dakota Gear. And so they kind of, when Preston Wild got hurt, Preston Wild was at 197, they experimented with a lot of different stuff, and they're trying to kind of bump the whole lineup up and see if the Gear can do 197. Try to let the other guys sort things out, and maybe they tried to put Jacoby up at 184. They did a whole bunch of different stuff, and they ended up settling on Joe Smith 65, Jacoby Smith 74, and Dakota Gear at 84. And kind of unexpectedly, Preston Wild came back, so I apologize, but that's kind of why I couldn't remember that stuff. But anyway, I'll be interested to see. I think Joe, it's kind of a weird last year because of all that. People, as you saw the season progress, and you saw where's Joe Smith, in a lot of matches, a lot of duels and stuff, and then suddenly he's the starter at the end of the season. A lot of people had a lot of questions about that, and this year there's no real, I guess, ambiguity about it. Joe should be the guy at 174. We should expect to see Joe there. So if we're not, as a fan, you're probably going to be really concerned with what's going on. Right. And I don't know if it's Wade or whatever it may be, but you want to see Joe Smith there at 174 this weekend, and it'll be a great match. I think you probably get the edge to Cutler. It'll be a really pivotal match in the duel. Another one, like I say, all these more or less that we're talking about could be, but it'll be a big one for OSU. And again, we kind of I think as a fan base as a whole, you just really want to see Joe Smith settling in and being that guy at that weight and taking it over for OSU. If it's not him, if he's not back down to weight, I know last week they had Gavin Stika. He's a freshman, Ohio State champ a couple of years ago. Yep. Or out of high school. Was true freshman last year, redshirt freshman this year. He won the OCU Open, so had a decent little tournament. And I've heard a lot of good things about him out of the room. Like he's like a smart kid, hard worker, all those things you like to hear about a person. So not big 5-star recruit or nothing, but that'd probably be the guy if Joe doesn't if we don't see Joe there. So
well, just as a wrestling fan. Right, we can't get enough of high-ranked guys going against each other. I don't know if you've ever been to Lehigh. Unfortunately or fortunately, this isn't a big arena. It's not in their normal place, so the crowd will be. I think it's a Stabler Arena, which holds 5,000-6,000 people, versus the 1,800 intimate gym that's called the Snake Pit. Should be a good match. I'm hoping that it materializes and that. We get the best version of both guys out there. It would be great to see Joe go out on his best version of himself as a senior, and Cutler, and they both are going to have to take down Mark Hall at some point.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, I think that's definitely like a thing that the OSU fans sort of want to see going out with Joe. He's got 1 year left. You want to see the best version of him out there. You want to see him healthy. You want to see him at the right weight, all those different things, and hopefully 174 is that and all that works out. But it'll be a heck of a match to kick off the season for him for sure if we do see him then.
Right. And, just want to add that Cutler was out of the Princeton Open. Tough sport. But he came back and he knocked off Mikey Labriola 4-1. And it didn't look at Journeyman. It didn't even look like it was that close. He controlled that match. So Cutler looks to be getting off to a really good senior season. Going up to 84. Chris Weiler comes in for Lehigh right around number 20, maybe a little over that, and he's a redshirt junior out of Wyoming Seminary, and he'll be facing most likely Dakota Gear, redshirt junior also, coming in top 10 guy, and this should be a good match. Gear, when they faced Lehigh, he ended up losing to Ryan Price, who was an All-American. But I think he got a clear edge right now on Weiler, who has been a little inconsistent early in the season. I think he's getting his cardio down, and he's dropping down from 97. So it's one of those things. you build yourself up like we talked a little bit with a couple of the guys from Oklahoma State, and then all of a sudden you're cutting down the next year, and that's just that's part of the joys of a Division I wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. They, I think Gear, like I kind of referenced it talking about Joe, how they kind of moved around the lineup last year. He had an interesting thing, like he was rolling at 184 early in his early in the season last year. He goes up to 97 for a little bit, took some losses there, and then he kind of came back down and ended up through that process. It seemed to throw him off a little bit. That's on the surface what it looked like. I don't know, but he took a couple losses and different things. He ends up going, I want to say maybe a 17 seed to the NCAA tournament and finishes sixth. Just kind of blows up the bracket and makes a really good run. Lost, his only losses were to very, very good wrestlers. I think it'll be really intriguing to see him. Like, he's kind of, in our first media day, he kind of basically just said, hey, I'm going to be at 84. I've settled in on that. That's because there were some conversations about him maybe bumping up to 197 and different things. So he's doing that. But one kind of intriguing thing there, like I said, I do think 99% sure we do see Dakota Gear there. But they did him and Anthony Montalvo, who's a California redshirt freshman, pretty tough kid. They made their way through their brackets at the OCU Open last weekend and then didn't wrestle the finals match. And kind of the expected thing is there's a ranking match sometime taking place this week in the room that none of us are going to see or whatever. I don't know if there's any truth to that or whatever, but it's just kind of what they, OSU kind of closes those off, and That's fine and everything. But it is what it is, and so that's what a lot of people are expecting. So theoretically, maybe Montalvo gets sent out there, but we expect to see Gear. But I think him down at 184 for a full season is really, really intriguing to me. And he's definitely going to be favored in this one, and this will be kind of his to go win. And I expect Gear to be all right here. I do. I don't know. Like I said, I'll just be interested to see kind of how they're going to have to wrestle somebody a little bit undersized at 197. We're about to talk about 197. Yep. But if it comes down to a dual types thing, I'm interested in how they'll handle scenarios where, hey, if we bump Dakota Gear up to 197 and Gear can beat this guy and Montalvo can take out this guy at 184, if they do that much this season to try to win duels, or if they just kind of play it to play for the postseason and let Gear work his seat up and improve his positioning for the NCAA tournament. So
that'll be interesting. And Lehigh's guy at 97 might be more highly ranked, but I'm not sure that he is as good a wrestler. I don't know if that's so. Jake going up to 97. It's Jake Jacobson. He's coming in at like number 15 or 16, and he's pretty athletic. He was a high school standout quarterback, but he has a hard time defending shots below the knee. And it's just one of those things that, like, when you talk about bumping somebody, do you look at the style or do you look at the ranking? And, at 97, so it could be a mix of people then also for OSU, Hughes, Kaufman, Gear. Do you think, I don't know.
I don't think we see Gear up here. That's, like I say, you never know what might happen in a dual scenario where I'm saying if they see something and they get to that point, it's like, okay, we need to send Gear up here because we're going to lose this duel. We don't. I wouldn't rule that out. But I do, like I say, I think they're going to probably go to, just let him wrestle 184 to build up a seed and try to score points and more, give him a better shot at the NCAA tournament. So what I think's theoretically probably going to happen is Kaufman actually won the tournament last weekend at OCU, beat Hughes in the finals. Hughes was on a junior world team for Greco. He's not too bad. Had a lot of success in Greco and freestyle. Kaufman was a junior college All-American. And then you got Montalvo also, like I said, he's kind of he wrestled 184 last weekend, so he's not. I'm assuming not a big 84, so I don't see him being a guy that's going to be able to fill out 197 and be the guy. But I'm based on just everything I'm seeing, I think Montalvo is probably the best as far as inserting in at 97. Like if you put all those three in a round robin and wrestled them off, I think Montalvo probably comes out on top. So I think we're probably going to see him bump up and be at 197 a lot this season. But it'll be kind of interesting because he's clearly wrestled at 184, last weekend. So I assume he's at least really wanting that spot or something. I don't know what the whole situation is there, but all things on the surface make it look like he's going to be the guy. Like he probably would be the best guy at 197, and Gear's going to be at 184. But I don't really know.
Gotcha. Well, here's another really twist. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So a twist is that Jacobson missed the last two matches for medical forfeits at Journeyman, and the question I have is, it could come down to the toss at the beginning of the match, who's got to send their kid out first. And I would wonder if Lehigh would bump Weiler up to wrestle 97 since he wrestled there last year to take on if Jacobson is out.
Assured win type situation because Gear's a little bit tougher.
So we'll see how, if we're overthinking it or if the coaches are, coaches are thinking, all right, this is going to be tough, and how do we jockey our lineup to get this win? Because each of them wants this win. Like, all right, as much as they want to do well in March, they both want to have, be the top 15 team early in the season, give themselves momentum. So I'll be curious to see what happens with Jacobson, with Weiler, with Kaufman, Montalvo, blah, blah, blah. So I can't make a prediction, but, if Jacobson is wrestling Kaufman or someone else, I'm going to pick him just based on the rankings. But if he's out, all bets are off. I don't know if they would bump up Weiler or bring in this guy Jones, who's I don't know anything about, but I looked him up on the roster, and I think he's ranked number 212 in the country. So so that'll be interesting. Otherwise, if it's Jacobson, I'm giving him the clear edge. But if it's not, if he's out, it's a toss-up, and it makes the duel even more interesting possibly going into heavyweight, where we got number 3 Jordan Wood, who's a redshirt junior, versus another Oregon native from the Oklahoma State lineup, Austin Harris. Wood would come in, the clear favorite here. He, being number 3 in the country, this is another spot where I don't know Harris very well, but Wood really pushed himself last year to try and rack up bonus points on his feet. And this is one of the spots where I think Lehigh could get bonus points if it really comes down to bonus points at this point. Thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Wood's an established talent. He's definitely going to be favored no matter what this weekend. Harris, they have kind of an interesting situation at heavyweight. Harris, or really probably their only true heavyweight, is Neil Putnam. He's Blair Academy kid. He's kind of been backing up Derek White over the last couple of years, obviously, and he's had some success. He's who most people projected, I guess, as the starter, is the best way I'd put it. And Harris is really came in at the OSU as a 174. I think it was at a high school was where his first OSU matches were, and he was kind of a tall, he's a pretty tall kid, and he sort of just naturally kind of filled it out as the way he's described it to me, and he's up to about 220 now.
Yeah.
But still, that's a really, really undersized heavyweight, obviously, and going up against a guy like Jordan Wood, that's tough. Harris had a lot of success in freestyle. I think he finished third at the junior. He's kind of young for his age or for his grade. He finished third at the junior world team trials this summer. He won the U.S. Open in Greco, and he's been really, really good in freestyle and Greco. He won junior Pan Ams in both Greco and freestyle. It's not translated quite as well on the on the folk style side. Like he just hadn't quite had the same success that we've seen him have in the with freestyle and Greco. That said, he's also pretty undersized, and then he's also another factor I'm going to throw in here that's kind of definitely going to make OSU fans nervous. Putnam didn't wrestle last weekend. I don't know if it's injury or I haven't really heard anything on what happened there, but he obviously just wasn't there. So the assumption is he's out with some sort of injury. Harris wrestled one match, won, and then medically forfeited the rest of the tournament. Those are the only two heavyweights on the roster. So heavyweight is not in its best situation at Oklahoma State right now. So if maybe, I don't know if Putnam, maybe it was like a situation where they were keeping him out of the tournament, knowing we've got these duels coming up. We've got to be super cautious here. I don't know. Maybe the same thing with Harris, sort of like, hey, we know Putnam's out. He wrestled the one match and maybe he was feeling a little sore or something before he was going into a second one. We got to keep him out because we're not going to have a body for the duels next weekend or something. I don't know exactly what all was going on there, but you basically got a possibility that both your heavyweights are hurt right now.
Right.
I really don't know. And then so the only, I think, option there would be the other thing they could do is throw maybe somebody from 197 up there and just pray, I guess, because they're going to be wrestling a lot bigger boy. Yeah. But that might be the scenario that we see there. But it'll be either Putnam or Harris. Most have Putnam kind of penciled in. But like I said, we didn't see him last weekend, and I don't know what the story is there. And then Harris also went out with injury, so it might not be him either. Right. If it comes down to heavyweight, Lehigh got to be feeling pretty good. But I don't really know who we're going to see there. It'd be a really interesting one. So.
Well, based on what we do know, I have it as a 5-5 split. So it comes down to me, is if someone can pull an upset. I mean, I think the closest match would be the Joe versus Jordan match at 74, and that would be an upset, I think, for Joe to win just because he's lost to him. They're closely ranked. But there's a couple other ones there that you could say could flip here and there, but I don't know because of the injury situation. I'm just guessing. And then who's bonus points, and Llewellyn, Piccinini, Wood, and they all look like they could bonus points for their team. And if there's an injury or someone's out, that makes it a lot easier for someone who might not get bonus points to bonus point somebody. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, like, it depends on do Lehigh, do they usually draw for what weight they start at, or how do they do that?
They usually start at 25.
Yeah. So I think that in a weird way not a weird way, but it makes sense. Nick Piccinini is going to go out there and wrestle his match to the best of his ability, I'm sure, but try to get bonus. But there's not that thought that there's the match is on the line here.
Right. Jordan
Wood might know, hey, I got to go out here and pin this guy to win this duel because we got to get a couple bonus points or whatever. So it'll be kind of, to me, I don't know. And maybe that kind of isn't the best thing for Wood because he's got more pressure on him. But and Piccinini and Boo will go out there and wrestle a little more loose, and they'll rack up a lot of points, and they'll get that bonus. I don't know, but I do think it would be kind of interesting that Wood's going to know whether or not he needs to score bonus points to win. Piccinini and Boo, it's kind of be way too early in the match for that to even be a factor, really. I mean, obviously you always go for bonus, but
totally. But it's an extra mental pressure. No one I've always been an advocate, and no one likes the idea that every duel should be ordered by the highest ranking paired matchup going last, and the second highest and the third highest, so that the guys who have the highest ranking have the most pressure on them, and as opposed to just always automatically putting on the big guy, because it's usually anticlimactic in most high school scenarios, and creates a bunch of self-doubt. And I think it also keeps a bunch of guys who are multi-sport athletes who don't want that pressure, football big guys who don't want the pressure of the school winning or losing on them. But and they do it in MMA. The highest ranked guys are always the headline card. But because it's never been done in wrestling, no one likes the idea. I've been told it's ridiculous. So Anyway, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody really trying to implement that. I mean, it's an interesting concept for sure.
Anyway, I'm gonna, because of the travel, because of some of the question marks of the guys making weight, I'm taking Lehigh by 1 point.
Yeah, I didn't really put together my scores and stuff on this, but I mean, I think it's. Oh man, I don't even know who to pick here. Yeah, I think it's a really true toss up. I do think. I see again. I like Nick Piccinini's maturity, his attitude, his different things like that, and I think he could go out there knowing he needs to get some bonus and kind of help the team, like kick the team off right, and then from there, who knows? but I do see him as a guy that's going to probably step up and at least, if it's like, hey, I got to get a couple bonus points, then maybe Putnam just needs to go out there and just run from wood for 10 minutes or whatever.
Right.
Then that might keep it over the edge for OSU. But man, it's a tough one to call. But I'll go with OSU. I cover them. I don't know, but like you said, it's pretty much a 5-5, and it's going to come down to 1 or 2 bonus points. And and interestingly, that's going to be Oklahoma State's season this year. There's a lot of duels that are going to set up that way for them.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, if you don't know, you can catch highlights at my website, true-wrestling.com. I'll try and have them up on Sunday, although I have an extended family, and we're having one Thanksgiving on on Sunday morning, so we can make rounds. We have several every year.
Yeah, we're about that way at our house.
Really?
A lot of family. But.
All right. Well, Seth, thanks for taking the time, and good luck to you and your wife. I know you're expecting shortly.
Yeah, we're pumped about it. Thank you. Appreciate that.